The WNBA had one job during Caitlin Clark's viral golf moment, and they completely blew it. While millions watched her dominate a celebrity golf tournament, while social media exploded with engagement, while every major sports outlet covered the story, the league that benefits most from her star power stayed completely silent. This wasn't just a missed opportunity. This was confirmation of what fans have been screaming about all season long. The WNBA doesn't know how to market its biggest asset. And now, major sponsors are making the same calculation. If the league won't capitalize on Caitlin Clark, they absolutely will. What we're witnessing isn't dramatic speculation. This is a real sponsorship crisis happening behind closed doors right now. Brands are quietly restructuring their deals, redirecting marketing budgets, and building entire campaigns around Caitlin Clark specifically, bypassing the WNBA altogether. Nike just dropped a commercial that feels like a Super Bowl spot. They're launching a signature golf shoe for her during the holiday shopping season. And here's what should terrify league executives. These aren't WNBA partnerships anymore. These are Caitlin Clark investments. If you believe the business story behind the highlights matters just as much as the game itself, hit that like button. It tells us you're here for the full picture, not just the surface-level drama. So let's break down exactly what's happening. Major WNBA sponsors aren't just pulling back from league-wide promotions. They're actively choosing to invest in Caitlin Clark as an individual entity, treating her as a better return on investment than the entire league combined. And the numbers back them up completely. From the moment Caitlin entered the league, everything changed. Ratings surged to levels the WNBA hadn't seen in decades. Arenas that averaged maybe 6,000 fans suddenly sold out at 17,000 capacity. National broadcasts that typically drew 400,000 viewers were suddenly hitting 2 million when Indiana Fever games aired. Social media engagement skyrocketed. Merchandise sales exploded. Ticket resale markets went absolutely wild. But here's where the story gets uncomfortable for league leadership. Every single one of those metrics pointed to one specific driver, not the playoffs, not the All-Star game, not even the championship series. Caitlin Clark. Games she played and drew exponentially higher ratings than games she didn't. Her jersey outsold entire franchises combined. Highlight clips featuring her pull more engagement in one evening than some teams generate in an entire month. Sponsors noticed immediately. These aren't casual observers. These are executives whose entire job depends on tracking return on investment down to the decimal point. And what they saw was undeniable. Caitlin Clark wasn't just moving the needle, she was the needle. So they started asking questions, reasonable business questions. Can we get more Caitlin Clark content in our marketing materials? Can we build campaigns specifically around her story? Can we guarantee she appears in our activation events? And this is where the WNBA made a critical miscalculation. Instead of embracing what was obviously working, instead of protecting and promoting their most valuable asset, they treated her rise as something that needed to be managed, controlled, or even diminished. The physical play she endured became a weekly spectacle. Hard fouls that would draw instant technical fouls in any other context were suddenly defended as playoff basketball, even during the regular season. Cheap shots that looked more like wrestling moves than basketball plays were brushed off as veterans welcoming a rookie. Meanwhile, social media lit up not with praise for the league's toughness, but with disgust at what looked like institutional resentment. Fans weren't stupid. They could see what was happening. Every time Caitlin got knocked to the floor in a nationally televised game, every time she took an elbow to the face with no call, every time commentators spent more time justifying the physical play than addressing the actual safety concerns, the message became clearer. The WNBA was more interested in protecting the feelings of veterans than protecting the player, paying everyone's bills. Sponsors saw the same thing, and they adjusted accordingly. If the league wouldn't treat Caitlin Clark as its centerpiece, they would. Endorsement deals shifted overnight. Suddenly her face took center stage in commercials, while the WNBA logo shrank to a footnote. Cross-sport events began featuring her as the headline attraction, with the league barely mentioned. Marketing budgets that were originally allocated for league-wide promotions got quietly redirected into Caitlyn-centric campaigns built for social media, streaming platforms, and live fan experiences. And then came the golf tournament, the perfect case study in how two leagues approached the same opportunity completely differently. The LPGA understood immediately what they had: a crossover star with mainstream appeal participating in their event, so they promoted it relentlessly. They put their best golfer, Nelly Korda, in the same group as Caitlyn. They secured television coverage. They encouraged fan attendance and autograph signings. They created content around every moment. They treated it like the marketing goldmine it obviously was. The result? Massive engagement, trending topics across social media, sports coverage on every major outlet, millions of impressions for the LPGA brand. And here's the key detail: the LPGA didn't even have a direct financial stake in Caitlyn Clark. She's not an LPGA athlete, but they understood basic marketing principles. When you have access to someone driving that level of attention, you maximize it. Now contrast that with the WNBA's response: absolutely nothing. No posts, no promotion, no acknowledgement whatsoever. While their most marketable player generated millions of dollars worth of free publicity, while sports media covered her golf performance as a major story, while fans created endless content celebrating her versatility, the league that actually employs her stayed completely silent. You know what that silence communicated to sponsors: that the WNBA either doesn't understand the value of what they have, or worse, they're actively resistant to promoting it. And when brands are writing multi-million-dollar checks, that kind of incompetence or resistance becomes a deal breaker. Because here's the business reality: sponsors don't care about politics or feelings or veteran players demanding respect. They care about one thing: return on investment. And Caitlyn Clark delivers returns that the broader WNBA brand simply cannot match. So they started restructuring, not publicly, not with dramatic press releases, quietly, behind closed doors, in conference rooms where the real decisions get made. One sponsor announces they're adjusting their WNBA partnership to include exclusive rights to Caitlyn Clark content. Another reveals they're shifting marketing dollars away from league-wide campaigns into Caitlyn-focused digital activations. A third starts building an entire brand strategy around her crossover appeal, barely mentioning the WNBA at all. On paper, the league is still getting paid. The invoices still process, but everyone involved knows what's really happening. The value isn't attached to the WNBA logo anymore. It's tied directly to one player, and once that shift occurs, once sponsors realize they get better returns by following the star instead of the shield, the power dynamic changes permanently. The league stops being the product. Caitlyn Clark becomes the product. And that's exactly where we are right now. This is the tipping point. When one sponsor shifts their strategy toward an individual player, that's a warning shot. When 3 or 4 do it simultaneously, that's a vote of no confidence in league leadership. Drop a comment right now telling us which brand you think will be the next to announce a major Caitlyn Clark partnership. Nike and State Farm are already all in. Who's next? Gatorade? Apple? Someone completely unexpected? Let us know your predictions. So let's talk about what insiders are actually saying behind closed doors, because this gets even more revealing. Team owners are starting to ask uncomfortable questions in board meetings. Why is our biggest revenue driver taking the hardest fouls? Why do our viral moments happen in spite of league strategy, not because of it? Why are sponsors specifically requesting Caitlyn Clark activations but showing zero interest in broader WNBA playoff packages? These aren't abstract concerns. These are direct challenges to how the league has been operating. And when you're a team owner, watching your most valuable asset get targeted with physical play while the league office defends it as part of the game, while simultaneously watching sponsors bypass your league to work directly with that same player, you start questioning whether current leadership understands the business they're actually in. Now here's where Nike enters the story in a massive way. They just released a commercial featuring Caitlin Clark that has generated tens of millions of views in an incredibly short time frame. And this isn't some quick social media clip. This is a full cinematic production with Super Bowl commercial energy, high production value, powerful messaging, emotional resonance, the kind of investment that signals long-term commitment. The ad features Caitlin alongside stars like Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Sha'Carri Richardson. The message is bold and perfectly timed. You'll be told you can't do it, so do it anyway. You'll be told you can't win, so win. It's inspirational, it's empowering, and it positions Caitlin as not just a basketball player, but as a cultural force representing everyone who's ever been underestimated or told they don't belong. Fan reactions have been staggering. Comments from people who've never watched a full WNBA game are flooding in and saying things like, "I clicked for the ad, and now I'm watching Indiana Fever highlights," or "This made me buy my first Caitlin Clark jersey." That's the holy grail of marketing, converting casual viewers into engaged customers. And Caitlin delivers that conversion at a rate that's almost unprecedented for women's basketball. But Nike didn't stop there. They also announced that Caitlin Clark is getting her own signature golf shoe, launching during the holiday shopping season. Think about the strategic brilliance of that timing. Christmas gifts, Hanukkah presents, holiday shopping when consumer spending peaks. And they're launching a product that connects directly to that viral golf moment the WNBA completely ignored. The golf shoe isn't just about footwear. It's about establishing Caitlin as a crossover athlete with mainstream appeal beyond basketball. It's about capitalizing on moments of cultural relevance in real time. And it's about Nike making a calculated bet that Caitlin Clark signature products will move merchandise at a level that justifies major investment, regardless of what the WNBA does or doesn't do. Industry projections for a potential Caitlin Clark signature basketball shoe reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars in sales potential. When fans see her featured in Nike's women's basketball commercial, when they see the golf shoe announcement, when they see State Farm continuing to build campaigns around her, it all converges into one undeniable message. Major brands aren't just acknowledging Caitlin as a talented player. They're positioning her as the future face of basketball, period. This creates a fascinating dynamic with other prominent stars. Players like Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, and Aja Wilson all have strong personal brands and significant followings. But right now, Caitlin Clark is the one headlining global commercials at this scale. Her presence is redefining what it means to be the face of women's basketball. It's no longer just about statistics or championships. It's about capturing attention, making your face impossible to scroll past, turning casual interest into emotional investment. Now let's connect all these threads back to the sponsorship crisis. What we're seeing is brands making a fundamental calculation. They've determined that investing directly in Caitlin Clark delivers higher returns than investing in broader WNBA partnerships. The data supports that conclusion completely. Every metric that matters to advertisers, search traffic, social engagement, merchandise sales, rating spikes, all point overwhelmingly toward one individual. So here's the nightmare scenario that's playing out right now. Multiple core WNBA sponsors begin restructuring their agreements to focus specifically on Caitlin Clark content and activations. Ratings for games without her continue falling off dramatically. Expansion timelines that were supposed to capitalize on league growth quietly get delayed. Marketing budgets shrink because the return on investment isn't there, and players who spent years fighting for more league investment suddenly hear the same frustrating line. The money isn't there anymore, except the money is there. It's just flowing directly to Caitlin Clark instead of through the WNBA's established channels. That's what makes this an existential crisis for league leadership. They're not losing sponsorship money to competitor leagues or declining interest in women's sports. They're losing it to their own player because brands have decided she's a better investment than the institution that employs her. The LPGA provided the perfect blueprint for what smart promotion looks like. They understood that when you have access to a transcendent star, you maximize every possible angle. You create content. You secure coverage. You build narratives. You treat it like the marketing opportunity it obviously is. And the results speak for themselves. The LPGA generated massive The WNBA had one job during Caitlin Clark's viral golf moment, and they completely blew it. While millions watched her dominate a celebrity golf tournament, while social media exploded with engagement, while every major sports outlet covered the story, the league that benefits most from her star power stayed completely silent. This wasn't just a missed opportunity. This was confirmation of what fans have been screaming about all season long. The WNBA doesn't know how to market its biggest asset. And now, major sponsors are making the same calculation. If the league won't capitalize on Caitlin Clark, they absolutely will. What we're witnessing isn't dramatic speculation. This is a real sponsorship crisis happening behind closed doors right now. Brands are quietly restructuring their deals, redirecting marketing budgets, and building entire campaigns around Caitlin Clark specifically, bypassing the WNBA altogether. Nike just dropped a commercial that feels like a Super Bowl spot. They're launching a signature golf shoe for her during the holiday shopping season. And here's what should terrify league executives. These aren't WNBA partnerships anymore. These are Caitlin Clark investments. If you believe the business story behind the highlights matters just as much as the game itself, hit that like button. It tells us you're here for the full picture, not just the surface-level drama. So let's break down exactly what's happening. Major WNBA sponsors aren't just pulling back from league-wide promotions. They're actively choosing to invest in Caitlin Clark as an individual entity, treating her as a better return on investment than the entire league combined. And the numbers back them up completely. From the moment Caitlin entered the league, everything changed. Ratings surged to levels the WNBA hadn't seen in decades. Arenas that averaged maybe 6,000 fans suddenly sold out at 17,000 capacity. The WNBA had